Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing 3 book reviews. The first being The House of Velvet and Glass by Catherine Howe, A Man of His Own by Susan Wilson, and The Death of King Arthur by Peter Ackroyd. The House of Velvet and Glass by Catherine Howe follows Sybil Alston, a young woman living in Boston with her ill father and rambunctious brother. It's been a few years, but Sybil still mourns the loss of her mother and sister who perished on the Titanic. In order to find solace, Sybil has been visiting a medium, but after receiving a scrying glass from the medium, Sybil is beginning to have strange visions of her own. So, this is my second book by Catherine Howe. I was really impressed with her other book, The Physic Book of Deliverance Dane. So I definitely want to pick up this and read it. And you guys, anything with Titanic, it doesn't matter how minimal the Titanic is in the book. I will pick it up and read it. I just love anything with Titanic, whether that be books, movies, TV miniseries, whatever. And yeah, this book has a wee bit of Titanic in the story. So let's get this out of the way. Catherine Howe, she tackles a lot with this book, and I do mean a lot. Because at first, when you first get into this book, you're introduced to a lot of different things because there's multiple different timelines that you're presented with. And the thing is, at first you are a little confused and you're trying to figure out how do all these timelines connect with one another, but they do make sense by the very end of this novel, I assure you. So the bigger part of this book, where the most focus is on Sybil Alston, taking place in 1915. Her mother and sister both died on the Titanic. So yeah, in 1915, following Sybil, she's still heavily mourning the loss of her mother and sister. She has to deal with her sick father. She has to deal with her brother, who's a little wild and crazy and won't settle down. And yeah, trying to find solace and trying to move on from the death of her mother and sister, she seeks out a medium. Add on top of this, Sybil is an unmarried woman. She's dealing with her affections for this other man who's introduced in the story. So there's those chapters, and like I said, that's the big bulk of the novel. But you also have these other timelines interspersed throughout this book, and you do have bits of Titanic in this book, taking place in 1912, and those chapters do follow Sybil's mother and sister. And then the other timeline takes place in Shanghai in 1868, and this follows Sybil's father. So yeah, right now, you're probably thinking, what the hell? How do all 3 of these plot lines kind of eventually weave together, and what's the overall purpose, you know, showing all of these stories? And it does all make sense by the end, you guys. And like I said, Catherine Howe, she's tackling a lot of material in this book. It's not a really huge book, but she's tackling a lot. But yeah, the overall themes presented in this book are love and loss and fate, and more than anything, a world that is being tightened as traditional society starts dwindling away and the modern age starts to appear. And I'm not even really touched on the idea of spiritualism presented in this book, because like I said, Sybil seeks out a medium to help her cope and grieve. And yet, the scenes with the medium and just the scenes involving the scrying glass in general that Sybil starts using, those chapters are perhaps some of the most intense moments in this book. And yeah, what you're kind of given with this book, you're given this idea, you know, does the afterlife really exist? Can you really commune with the dead? And an even bigger question is presented as well. Can you control fate? Can you control destiny? Or is it always just going to happen no matter what you do? But not gonna lie, this book can be a bit of a slog to get through, because you are sitting there wondering, how do all of these various different timelines connect? But eventually they do, and I think it's all kind of wrapped up quite beautifully, and just a lot of emotional depth and meaning by the end, I suppose. Definitely some excellent plot twists that I did not see coming, you guys. There were several moments a chapter would end and I would be like, because because there'd be just such a great twist all of a sudden. But yeah, I do recommend this book in a way. If everything I've talked about, if it sounds up your alley, then I suggest you get it. But I also do highly recommend you just check out other reviews of this book in general, because this is kind of a book that you'll either love or hate. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking out other reviews as well. A Man of His Own by Susan Wilson is an emotional story that takes place right before World War II, following 3 people and their connection to a dog that changes their lives forever. Rick Stanton is a professional baseball player who discovers a puppy and names him Pax. Francesca is a girl from Iowa who falls in love with Rick and becomes his wife, and in turn adopts Pax as her own. Keller Nicholson becomes a soldier during the war, and Pax becomes his helpful scout after Francesca signs Pax up for the Dogs for Defense program. Rick returns from the war damaged and broken, and as a compromise so both men can have Pax, Keller becomes Rick's live-in aide. But in the meantime, Keller and Francesca struggle to ignore their feelings for one another. In between the lives of these 3 people is Pax, who gives unconditional love and loyalty, and perhaps he is the one who can help heal these damaged and broken humans. This book was freaking beautiful, you guys. Oh my god, I love this. I cried my eyes out on numerous occasions. Yeah, don't take that as a spoiler that I cried, because sometimes I cried for happy reasons and sometimes I cried for sad reasons. It's just one of those books that really gets to you on like many different emotional levels. And I tell you what, I was initially a little worried to head into this book, because this is just the type of book that sounds like something that can be overly sentimental, something overly cheesy. And yeah, I mean, I think it would verge into those territories on occasion, but not to the point that you're like cringing because it's so horrible, you know? But this book has such an incredible message presented throughout. Yeah, just this message of hope and a message of letting go and moving on. Yeah, very emotional, very heartwarming. And yeah, this whole book is essentially a story about life, death, and war. And you have characters who are able to move away from the war. They're able to go on with the rest of their lives, but then you have characters who have a really difficult time and they're struggling to move on from the war because they were just that much affected by the war. And that's definitely presented with each of these 3 main characters, because you have Rick, who comes back from the war. He's been broken and damaged. He has severe PTSD. And then you have his wife, who was left behind, obviously, and she has to deal with her husband being broken and damaged, but she also has to deal with her own life as well and the things that she wants to accomplish and achieve. And then you also have Keller, who is the man who takes care of their dog, and he comes to be a live-in aide for Rick to help him out after the war. So you have Keller, who's the total optimist in this relationship, and yeah, he has his own things he wants to do as well, and he just really despises that Rick lets himself be in such a miserable state this entire time. And then there's the cute, lovable German Shepherd Pax, you guys, who is like the emotional heart and core of this story, his connection with each of these 3 characters. Because even the dog, you guys, even the dog has a character journey, because who is he more loyal to? Is he loyal to his original owners, Rick and Francesca, or is he loyal to the man who trained him to become a defense dog, you know, during the war? So yeah, even the dog has some complicated issues. And yeah, just to conclude, I really don't have too much to say about this book. It's just incredibly well done. Susan Wilson, she really captured the historical detail. She captured the voices of these individual characters, including the dog. And yeah, just such an emotional journey, heartbreaking, but uplifting, just such a powerful message by the time you reach the ending. And yeah, just this dog at the core, you guys. This dog who has this deep connection to all of these humans. And yeah, if you're an animal lover, a dog lover, you'll certainly love this book, and I highly recommend it. Just a really feel-good book, let's put it that way. If you want to read something really feel-good, you'll love this. So I don't really have a plot summary for this book. It's The Death of King Arthur, which was originally written by Sir Thomas Malory, and this is a retelling by Peter Ackroyd. And yeah, everybody knows the story of King Arthur, Guinevere, Lancelot, the Knights of Camelot, the Round Table, Excalibur, Merlin, all of that good stuff. So yeah, not much to really sit and summarize there. I have already previously read Les Morts d'Arthur in its original Middle English text. I had to read it for a college course, and that was a pure living hell in a way, but kind of weirdly enjoyable too, because I liked trying to translate the Middle English. It's much difficult than it sounds, you guys. So I have originally already read this book, and I decided to pick up this edition because this is such a gorgeous edition, you guys. Just so beautiful in its detail and really kind of shiny in some places. And yeah, this is just supposed to be a basic, you know, modern English right now. Our English that we speak now, just it's adapted into our language. That makes it easier to read and understand. And just to read a bit of what Peter Ackroyd had to say about how he translated this book, because I think it's important. Peter Ackroyd says, "I have tried my best to convert Mallory's sonorous and exhilarating prose into a more contemporary idiom. This is a loose rather than punctilious translation. I have also chosen to abbreviate the narrative in pursuit of clarity and simplicity. Mallory is often rambling and repetitive. Much that would have amused and interested a medieval audience will not appeal to a modern readership. I have also amended Mallory's inconsistencies." And yeah, I loved his author note at the end of the book, because even while I was reading, I could tell that Peter Ackroyd had done just all of that, because the original text can be quite repetitive and monotonous and just, yeah, so many inconsistencies, and it can be a little hectic and confusing sometimes and rambling. So yeah, I appreciate what Peter Ackroyd was trying to do with his rendition and retelling of the original story. It makes it much easier and simpler to follow. But my one problem with this translation, something I just don't remember while reading the original text, just certain events and the characters, just a lot of things felt really over the top and melodramatic. And like I said, I don't remember Thomas Mallory's original text being over the top and melodramatic. You know, I just do not remember that at all. And yeah, just sometimes characters be like, "Oh, woe is me." It would just be so much. And I found myself laughing on occasion throughout this book, like literally laughing out loud, and I don't think I was supposed to be laughing. Because to be quite honest, I felt like sometimes this book was verging into like Monty Python and the Holy Grail material. If you've seen that satire, that movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because that's what this book often kind of translated into. And I don't think that was Peter Ackroyd's intention, you know, I don't think he was going for that, but that's how it kind of came across, weirdly enough. Overall, I do think this is a really good contemporary retelling of the death of King Arthur, especially if you don't want to read the original French text or the original Middle English text, you know, because that's a lot of translating right there, and it's really hard to do. So yeah, if you just want something simple and basic, and yeah, you just want to get into Arthurian myth and whatnot, yeah, this is a good place to start in my opinion. So yeah, that's it for these book reviews. I hope you guys enjoyed. In the comments below, have you guys read any of these books? Just let me know. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.